Miami this past year was one of the more utterly disappointing teams that took the field. Getting blown out by Alabama in the opener was something that practically everyone, including myself, expected, and that included people that thought this was going to be a top 15 team. Alabama was just that good. Just because Miami got blown out in week one didn't mean that they were going to be an awful team for the rest of the year. There have been several teams that have been blown out by Alabama and went on to do good things. But then we saw the flaws. Every person who watches college football and is a nerd about college football, myself included, saw the cracks in the Appalachian State game. And then came the Michigan State game. A home blowout. The stadium was empty. That was humiliating. And then the rest of the year, obviously, 3 more losses, including one to Florida State. The team beat ACC champion Pittsburgh, but that doesn't matter when, you lose to Florida State, you lose to a few other teams. The team flipped and flopped all year round. They were confusing. Manny Diaz and his job security was a confusing situation as well. The athletic administration was basically courting Mario Cristobal. They still hadn't fired Manny Diaz, so a very awkward situation there. Finally, Diaz was fired, Cristobal was hired, and a new era of Miami football has begun. It seems like the donors, the administration, and everyone has finally bought into the concept of the U, and that Miami football can return to its glory days. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Not the glory day part or my prediction for several years into the future. It's very hard to predict that. I like to take that kind of by a year-by-year basis. Maybe 2 years in advance for some teams that I think are very young but show a lot of promise. But predicting over several years and a decade is hard for me to do for teams that I am not fully invested in, like my favorite team, Michigan, for example. I could maybe do that. But for Miami, we can talk about the next year and speculate, not necessarily predict, but speculate over the next few years and some questions that Mario Cristobal and his coaching staff at Miami will have to answer over the next few years in order to become an elite team, become a contender at minimum, because that's obviously the goal here. Miami's not trying to go 10-3 every year. They're not. Not at all. This hiring here is huge. It is absolutely huge. And as a Michigan fan myself, who, when Jim Harbaugh was hired, he was expected to bring things to Michigan. Miami's not going to want to have that process where it takes Mario Cristobal 7 years to do something. They're not going to. This hire was huge. It's supposed to be a grand slam hire, and therefore Miami fans and the administration are probably, while giving Cristobal some leeway because he went to school there, he's kind of a hero there, and we all know how schools around the country treat people and treat head coaches who have went to their school. They treat them better than guys who are more outsiders, but still they're going to want him to do things and win. They're going to want him to win trophies over the next few years. They're not going to want to wait a long time. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. And we're also going to be discussing their 2022 schedule, talking a little bit about their depth chart, and at the end, like I was mentioning a few seconds ago, talking about some questions that they'll need to address and all that stuff. Bear in mind, I'm a Big Ten guy, but I love Miami football. Miami is one team that if I am watching them, I will normally cheer for them, unless it's against, my favorite team, Michigan. When Miami football has been dominant, it's been good for the sport. It's really the same for Florida football all around, but especially for Miami. The brand, the style of football they play, it's important, it's awesome. They fielded the best team ever in college football, even with 2019 LSU and 2020 Bama. I believe that 2001 Miami is the best team, especially the most NFL-rich, talented team ever. It's just facts. And that's one of the main reasons that I really like this school and this team, even as a Big Ten guy. But also bear in mind that I'm a Big Ten expert, not an ACC or Miami expert. I'm just giving my opinion and some thoughts. Take what you like out of this video and comment your thoughts down below. And if you're new here, hit that like button, hit that sub button, and hit that notification bell so you can get notified when I make more videos. Miami football, as I've discussed earlier, had a pretty disappointing 2021 year. However, after hiring Cristobal then went out and hired some impressive coordinators. Josh Gaddis from Michigan. Now look, I don't know if he necessarily deserved the Broyles Award. I don't care. He was still a part of Michigan winning their 2021 Big Ten title. And I think that's a good hire. He oversaw the spread offense at Alabama and speed and space. He was able to adapt and run more of a smash mouth spread, if you want to say it, this past year at Michigan. And I think, going to the ACC, which you're not going to be facing the same defensive talent, and now he has direct in-state access to Miami talent, it's going to be interesting seeing how he can develop the offense at Miami and oversee. I think he's also coaching the wide receivers at Miami as well. It's going to be interesting how he can develop some of that rich Florida wide receiver talent, assuming that Mario Cristobal kind of puts more of a fence around the state of Florida recruiting than past Miami coaches have been able to do so. Cristobal also hired as co-defensive coordinators Charlie Strong, who was previously at the Jacksonville Jaguars as an inside linebackers coach, and he also hired Kevin Steele. And Kevin Steele in college was last the defensive coordinator at Auburn. He took a hiatus in 2021, briefly was the interim head coach at Tennessee, but after Josh Heupel was hired, he was out for the rest of the year. He is now Miami, Florida's defensive coordinator. So those are some pretty big hires, I would say. Charlie Strong is a big hire. Kevin Steele is. I'd say Josh Gaddis is the closest to a slam dunk hire out of all of them. I mean, you hired him from a team who just reached the college football playoff, and a team that ran a guy who ran one of the most efficient offenses in the nation this past season. So it's good on Miami. I think that they do have a good staff. They also hired, I forget his name, it's on the tip of my tongue, but Georgia's cornerbacks coach, who is one of the best recruiters in the nation, and that's all you need to know about him. All you need to know is he's one of the best recruiters. It's certainly going to help Miami recruiting in the current, but it's also going to help them in the future. So that is very critical as well. We're now going to talk about their schedule. What can this staff and what can Mario Cristobal produce with the schedule they're given in 2022? They do not have an opener against a top 5 team in Alabama. They don't. They open up with Bethune-Cookman September 3rd, which should be a win. They follow that up with Southern Miss on September 10th, which should be a win. Playing at Texas A&M September 17th, I would list that as a loss. It's safe because Jimbo Fisher is well established. Texas A&M has, they have a decent amount returning from this past season. They did lose their DC, but they should still have a pretty good defense. They just brought in a really good recruiting class. They also have upgraded their QB position by bringing in transfer Max Johnson from LSU, and Kyle Field's just a hard place to play. And as we all know, this is going to be Mario Cristobal's first year. Miami is still broken for now. It's Mario's job to fix it, and I don't know if it's going to be as quick as one off season for him to fix everything. So I'm going to list Texas A&M as a loss on September 17th. Miami will then return home to face Middle Tennessee September 24th before taking a bye October 1st. Middle Tennessee's a no-brainer. That's a W for Miami. North Carolina, the game comes off the bye. It's a home game. It's October 8th. North Carolina under Mac Brown has been very good offensively, at least in the past 2 years. They've struggled on defense, but so has Miami. Miami has been one of the worst tackling teams in the past few seasons, and with how much production Miami loses on offense. North Carolina loses that too, but I think that this game, just looking at it, to me, this screams like a game that could totally be a loss and a shocker for the Hurricanes. And I'm going to list it as that, but I could totally see this being a win as well. This is more of a toss-up game. Similarly with at Virginia Tech, Lane Stadium's always a hard place to play. That game's October 15th, but I think Miami will win here as Virginia Tech is in a worse spot overall than Miami is. Duke, October 22nd, is a home game. I think that's a no-brainer win for the Hurricanes. Duke has little to no talent. They have a new head coach and a new staff. And yeah, it basically explains itself. At Virginia, October 29th, another team with a new head coach, new head staff. They don't have as much talent as Miami. I would list that as a win, though they do return, I think, a really good quarterback. So if Miami's defense is not somewhat fixed by then, that could turn into a shootout. November 5th against Florida State, I completely expect to be a Miami victory. It's a home game. It's going to be a revenge game because that loss to Florida State last year was absolutely humiliating. At Georgia Tech will be a win, I think, November 12th at Bobby Dodd Stadium. Georgia Tech they have fallen off tremendously. I don't think Jeff Collins is the solution. At Clemson will be Miami's final loss of the year. I don't think that Clemson is going to be this playoff team immediately. They have so many questions surrounding them. How is DJ Uiagalelei going to improve or play? They basically lost their entire staff. They have transfers coming out. They're recruiting. They had one of the worst recruiting classes, in a while. But it's at Clemson. Clemson is, in my opinion, likely going to have a solid defense. I think they'll improve on offense as well. Dabo Swinney, there's a reason he's won 2 national titles and competed for, I think, 2 more in national title games. He's a good head coach. So I think that will be a loss. It's going to be a tough environment. And finally, we reach Pitt, November 26th. Pitt, I actually haven't made a decision yet, but the likely repeating champions. They return a lot of their defense. They return Jordan Addison. Keaton Slovis will be a solid QB in the Pitt system. But this game screams upset for Pittsburgh. This will be a revenge for the Black Friday game that took place September 17th, when I believe undefeated Miami lost at Pittsburgh. Miami will return the favor and defeat what I think will be an undefeated Pittsburgh Saturday, November 26th. For Miami to finish 9-3 on the year, 6-2 in conference. That is, for now, my prediction for the Hurricanes for the 2022 season. So that's just previewing some of my thoughts on the team and also the schedule for Miami. And now we're going to move on and talk about some questions that I have for the Hurricanes in, the near distant future and such. The Cristobal era. And here are the questions. Will discipline finally be reintroduced and enforced? And it's kind of a silly question. In a certain sense, you could think of it as that, but at the same time, it's not. And I say that because Miami for years has been an undisciplined team from the top down. Bad coaching hires, bad player performance, huge letdowns, inconsistency, lack of in-state recruiting. And by that, I mean lack of locking down top prospects. When you have top prospects in your state and you do not lock them down or lock some of them down, that's a lack of discipline when it comes to recruiting. And when you have bad player performance, that's a lack of discipline on part of player performance. So I think that's where it has to start for Miami, is the reintroduction of discipline and accountability all around. That's where it has to start. And I think that this one is the most no-brainer one. I think that this one, more than all the others, is going to be the most likely one that will be established first is just an improvement of the players and coaches' ability to maximize what they can do, to go all in. The administration, by hiring Cristobal, has already shown that they're going to be disciplined and they're going to try to take care of this product. So I think that's the first and most important question, the foundation. Next, will the Canes be able to lock down in-state prospects? This is a tough one. And it is because you got Nick Saban, you have Kirby Smart, you have Billy Napier at Florida, and Mike Norvell at Florida State. I know that he, lost Travis Hunter, who is from Georgia, to Deion Sanders, but still, he's been able to recruit somewhat in Florida. You have a tough environment by being in the state of Florida with schools like Florida State, Florida, and also outsiders like Ryan Day from Ohio State, Kirby Smart in Georgia, heck, Alabama, and Nick Saban. And with Brian Kelly now at LSU, that might be another name. Same with Jimbo Fisher. And you don't think Lincoln Riley and USC are going to try and get some Florida talent if maybe they don't have someone in California who they want? They're a big name brand. So the Canes, I'm not saying you have to lock down every 5-star. It's impossible. That is close to mathematically impossible, if not completely impossible. But locking down some of them, just slowly cutting off, making it so that Alabama or Georgia, they have to fight. They have to fight to get players. They have to put in more effort than they have to right now, which, trust me, if it's a guy in Florida, they're more likely competing with other out-of-state schools, not in-state schools, if we're being honest at this current moment. So that's another one. And this is important too, because if Miami can lock down those 5 stars and 4 stars, you might see a playoff appearance, and that would not shock me at all. Oregon under Cristobal has been so close. And the fact that they've come short has cast some doubt on who he is as a coach and how great he is. And I myself have some questions about that as well. But if they can lock down some in-state talent and have more talent than what Cristobal's had under Oregon, maybe to a certain degree his past failures won't even matter, because he'll have the talent that will be able to help him and his coaching get to that next level. Talent and recruiting are the blood of college football, after all. The next question is, how will Josh Gaddis transform Miami's offense? Is it going to be a good, the elite speed and space that my Michigan Wolverines were promised, and then it just fell flat on its face, and it was just disgusting to watch, and I hated it? Or will it actually be effective? Will Josh Gaddis have learned from his time at Michigan, learned how to better coordinate an offense, and maybe will some of the better wide receiver talent and just maybe some better quarterback talent? Michigan, they got J.J. McCarthy and Cade McNamara, but they always have not recruited the greatest, and it's largely their own fault at the QB position. So maybe that was holding him back just a little bit. So what side of Josh Gaddis will you see? Will he transform Miami's offense to the next level? If Miami can get an amazing offense and have that, U defense, which we will talk about in 2 questions, boy, this team will definitely be deadly. And leading from the offensive side, can Tyler Van Dyke become the next great Miami QB? Let me bring up Tyler Van Dyke, just some of his stats for you. Tyler Van Dyke appeared in some games last year after De'Aaron King went down, and he put up some impressive numbers. He had the 11th best QB rating according to ESPN. He threw for 2,931 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. He had a 160.1 passer rating. That's pretty good. And he was a freshman, too, at that. So is he the future? And I think that I can confidently answer this question. I don't know about Josh Gaddis. Again, some skepticism there from a Michigan fan perspective. The previous 2, I'm pretty certain about the discipline one. The latter will be hard about locking down in-state prospects. I don't know about that one either. But I believe that Tyler Van Dyke can become and will become the next great Miami QB. he was running with a broken system this past season. And no matter if you believe that Cristobal is a fraud when it comes to being an elite head coach, or whether you think that, he is a great and elite head coach, doesn't matter. He's certainly better than Manny Diaz is at being good at his job as a head coach. That is an undisputed fact. So I think with a better system, it'll be automatically better than what Diaz had to offer. I think Van Dyke will become the next great Miami QB. And maybe he will be the reason that Mario Cristobal wins at Miami, or be the spark that lights the fire. Will the U regain its reputation for tough defense? I don't know about this one, but Kevin Steele and Charlie Strong as defensive coordinators, look, that's a great duo. Strong can definitely recruit. We saw that he could do that at Texas, and Kevin Steele has been a 10-year defensive coordinator for years and has a lot of coaching experience. And Cristobal has fielded some great defenses at Oregon. So all of these things are certainly working out. Of course, recruiting Georgia's cornerbacks coach, I think his name is, it starts with a J, but I don't necessarily know. I forget how you say it. Again, it's on the tip of my tongue. But he will certainly help with recruiting as well on the defensive side of the ball. One of the best recruiters in the nation. And if all above 5 questions are answered, Miami will certainly be elite. They will be. If all 5 are answered in a positive manner, if all of them are true, if Tyler Van Dyke is an elite QB, if the U regains its reputation for tough defense, if Josh Gaddis's Miami offense is that great speed and space offense that Michigan was promised when he came in 2019, if the Canes can lock down some in-state prospects that are 5 stars, or even that are diamonds in the rough, will discipline be reintroduced? And if it is, if all these things are true, it is my opinion that Miami will certainly be elite. What do you all think? Do you think that all 5 of these questions will be answered by Cristobal's tenure? Tell me down in the comments below. And that is all I have to say for this video. It is up to you whether or not you think Miami will be a good team. Again, my prediction for Miami this year, they'll be a top 25 team. They're going to be 9-3. They might contend for the ACC championship. Who knows? I think that's probably around their ceiling, is contending for the ACC championship, which would still be a great year 1 for Mario Cristobal. If you like this video, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit the notification bell, and comment your thoughts once again down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys around. Bye.